The alien standard surveyed the panorama from atop their towering metal throne. The planet beneath changed into teeming with lifestyles, a vibrant tapestry of colors and shapes that seemed to bounce to an unheard melody. A cool breeze caressed their metallic pores and skin, rippling the armor plating that encased their shape. The standard's many sensors, embedded inside their cybernetic improvements, returned a steady circulation of records in the world's ecosystem, geology, and biology. It turned into a veritable paradise, teeming with capacity conquests. The well-known thoughts, however, have been not at the infinite armies they commanded or the infinite worlds that they had conquered. They had been fixated on a single, sudden sight that had seemed on their viewscreen mere moments in the past: a human. The creature became small, frail, and covered in a tender, fleshy conceal. It moved awkwardly, almost find it irresistible became getting to know to stroll. Its eyes, huge and expressive, regarded to stare proper into the overall soul. The fashionable felt abnormal sensation wash over them, one they could not pretty place. It was now not worry, nor became it anger. It changed into interest. They watched because the human continued to discover its surroundings, interacting with the native flowers and fauna with a care and gentleness that changed into utterly unfamiliar to the alien. The extra the general discovered, the extra they located themselves curious about this unusual, empathetic creature. The populace mind drifted lower back to their own race, the countless battles that they had fought and received, the worlds that they had conquered and the billions of lives that they had taken. The weight in their actions pressed down upon them, a crushing burden that they had by no means before stated. They wondered if the human beings, with their capacity for romance and compassion, would view them as monsters. As if in response to the general's internal turmoil, the human approached their throne. The fashionable tensed, making ready for an attack. However, the human merely stopped a few paces away and extended a hand in greeting. The general hesitated for a moment, but then, in opposition to all cause, reached out and took the human's hand. A strange feeling of warmth and connection flowed through them, washing away the guilt and doubt that were plaguing them. Who are you?" the general asked, their voice sounding atypical and strange to their own ears. The human smiled, revealing a mouth complete of best, white tooth. I am called John," they replied. And you are?" The widespread hesitated, unsure of a way to solution. They had in no way earlier than been requested their name. I am. They started out, however the phrases caught of their metallic throat. I am referred to as many stuff, they ultimately managed. But you could call me pal. John's smile grew wider. Oh well, buddy, it is good to satisfy you. I come in peace. We humans fee peace and cooperation, specifically else. The well-known listened closely as John spoke, their sensors taking in every nuance of the human's voice and frame language. They felt a strange connection to this being, as though they'd acknowledged each different for lifetimes. Your methods are distinct from ours, the general stated cautiously. Our race has usually been one in every of conquerors. We take what we want, whilst we need it. John frowned sympathetically. I am sorry to pay attention that, he said. But perhaps there's any other way. A better manner. One where we are able to all live together in harmony and mutual respect. The trendy leaned forward, intrigued. How would that be feasible? They asked. Our races are so exceptional. Our cultures, our histories. John reached out and located a hand on the general's metallic arm. It is viable due to the fact we're greater alike than we are unalike, he said. We both feel love and loss, joy and sorrow. We both have the capability for empathy and understanding. If we will learn how to see every different as fellow vacationers on this journey via lifestyles, then possibly we are able to find a manner to live collectively in peace. The preferred sat back of their throne, considering these phrases. They had never before considered the possibility of a specific route, one in which peace and cooperation ought to exist between their races. An abnormal aggregate of wish and worry coursed via them as they pondered this newfound revelation. You talk of affection and loss, the general started. Of empathy and expertise. But how are we able to bridge the chasm that lies among our peoples? We have fought wars and conquered worlds. How can we undo that history? John peered deeply into the general's optical sensor array, his expression both sad and decided. It will no longer be smooth, he admitted. But it can be done. It starts off evolved with accept as true with, and with admire. We need to learn how to see every other as people, no longer as enemies. We need to paintings collectively to construct a destiny where our children can develop up without fear or hatred. The general felt a weight settle into their metal chest. They ought to feel the sincerity in John's words, and they discovered themselves wanting to accept as true with him. But the recollections of conquest and bloodshed nonetheless haunted them, reminding them of the fee that should be paid for this sort of destiny. And what of me? The general requested. What function would I play in this new world? John smiled reassuringly. Your role could be crucial, he stated. As the chief of your people, you've got the strength to shape the course of history. You could pick out to lead them down the path of peace and cooperation, or you could maintain down the course of conquest. The desire is yours. The popular sat in silence for a protracted moment, weighing these phrases. They felt an unusual experience of freedom, of liberation from the chains of duty that had certain them for so long. But in addition, they felt the load of responsibility, of the lives that depended on their choice. Finally, they spoke. I will assume for your phrases, they stated. And I will recollect your proposal. John nodded, his expression solemn but hopeful. I apprehend, he stated. But recognize this, the destiny of our global hangs within the stability. The preference you are making will echo through the while. As they spoke, the overall felt a newfound sense of purpose coursing through their circuits. They had been given a chance to make a distinction, to go away a legacy that would outlive them. And for the primary time in their immortal lifestyles, they found themselves genuinely uncertain of what the proper selection became. The notion of leading their humans down a course of peace and cooperation was terrifying. They had spent millennia conquering worlds and forging empires. To offer that up might be to relinquish their identification, their very motive for being. But the opportunity, greater wars, more dying, more suffering, turned into unthinkable. The Standard retreated to their non-public chambers, wherein they spent hours alone, lost in thought. They reviewed the history in their people, the endless battles they'd fought and gained. They considered the strengths and weaknesses of their race, the benefits and downsides of persevering with down the course of conquest versus embracing a new direction of peace. Finally, after days of agonizing deliberation, the general made their selection. They summoned John to their throne room all over again. As the humans stood earlier than them, they knew that their preference might have a long way reaching results, no longer only for their very own humans, but for all the races that inhabited the galaxy. I even have made my decision, the general stated, their voice consistent but heavy with the load of duty. I will lead my humans down a new direction. One of peace, cooperation, and know-how. We will paintings together with your humans and the alternative races of the galaxy to construct a future wherein we will all stay collectively in harmony and mutual respect. John's face broke into a wide smile. Thank you, he said, his voice filled with emotion. I are aware of it changed into not a smooth choice, but I trust it's far the proper one. Together, we are able to make the universe a better place. The preferred nodded, their optical sensor array flickering with an aggregate of determination and trepidation. Together, they echoed. We will begin the long and difficult adventure in the direction of a brand new destiny. With the flicker of an optical sensor, one in which our youngsters and their children can stay in peace and prosperity. They had selected the route of peace, free from the shackles of battle and conquest. They'd set in motion a sequence of occasions that could reverberate at some point of the galaxy for generations to return. The destiny, unsure and fraught with peril, lay before them. But for the first time in their immortal lifestyles, they knew that they were no longer alone. They had a friend, and collectively, they would face something challenges lay beforehand. John, for his component, may want to infrequently agree with the flip of activities. His heart swelled with wish and gratitude as he appeared upon the general, his new best friend. He had come to this world as an insignificant visitor, a humble explorer in search of best to examine and revel in new things. Yet here he become, status before the most powerful being in the recognized galaxy, having performed a position in shaping the direction of history itself. It changed into a heady feeling, to be sure, however one which he by no means took as a right. As they set about their responsibilities, working together to dismantle the old order and build a brand new one from the ashes of conflict, they faced limitless limitations. There were individuals who resisted their efforts of direction, hardliners within each their races who clung desperately to the vintage methods and saw peace as not anything more than weakness. But the general and John had been resolute. They knew that they had been combating now not just for their personal people, however for all of the races of the galaxy. They were decided to make a difference, to go away the world a better area than they'd discovered it. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. The news of their alliance unfolded during the galaxy like wildfire, inspiring wish and renewal anywhere it went. The Trendy and John received messages of aid and encouragement from races they had as soon as considered enemies, and it turned into in those moments that they knew they have been at the right path. Slowly but surely, the tide of warfare began to ebb, and a new generation of cooperation and knowledge dawned. Of direction, the road to peace changed into no longer without its casualties. There have been individuals who could not forgive the overall for abandoning the approaches of conquest, and people who couldn't receive John's humanity. But the general and John persevered, refusing to permit the hatred of the few poison the development of the many. They knew that they had been on foot a first-rate line, and that one incorrect step ought to undo all that they had finished. But additionally, they knew that the alternative changed into unthinkable. They would not let fear or intimidation deter them from their quest for a better day after today. As the years handed, the overall and John watched as their dream of a united galaxy started to take shape. Their youngsters and grandchildren grew up in a global without war, without conquest, without domination. They constructed friendships and alliances throughout the stars, forging bonds that transcended race and species. And as they stood together, hand in hand, observing out upon the limitless expanse of the universe, they knew that their actions had made a difference. They had left the arena a higher vicinity than they'd located it, and for that, they could be remembered for generations to come. But whilst their hearts swelled with delight, they remained vigilant. They knew that the seeds of hatred and fear nonetheless existed, watching for impossibility to take root over again. They understood that the direction to proper peace would be long and hard, fraught with setbacks and challenges. And in order that they persisted to work tirelessly, guiding their people in the direction of a brighter destiny, in the direction of a galaxy, where all beings could live collectively in concord and prosperity. The General and John grew vintage collectively, there as soon as powerful forms now frail and weak. But their spirits remained sturdy, their determination unwavering. They exceeded their know-how and knowledge down to the following technology, preparing them to face the challenges that lay ahead. And as they neared the cease of their lives, they took consolation in knowing that their efforts had now not been useless. The world they had helped to create could preserve to thrive, lengthy when they had been gone, a testament to the energy of wish, of affection, and of the long-lasting human spirit. As the very last twilight in their lives drew near, they stood side via aspect, gazing out upon the celebs, their eyes filled with marvel and awe. They knew that their journey was nearly at an stop, but they also knew that their story would live on, inspiring countless others to keep the combat for peace, for information, and for a better day after today. And in that second, as the closing rays of daylight danced across the face of the planet, they knew that they'd simply found their area in the universe. "You don't forget whilst we first met, General?" John requested, his voice soft and reflective. "It looks as if any such lifetime in the past." The Standard chuckled, a warm and gentle sound that belied his years. "Yes, my old buddy, I do. I don't forget questioning which you had been not anything but a reckless toddler, decided to convey ruin upon us all. And I assume in a few approaches, I was right. But I additionally saw something in you, something that made me accept as true with that you could be molded, that you could be turned into a force for desirable." John smiled on the memory, his wrinkled hands folded behind his back. "And what of you, General? What made you see past my conceitedness, my ambition? What made you believe that I could be trusted with your most precious secrets and techniques?" The trendy looked at his vintage pal, his eyes packed with a combination of disappointment and wish. "I noticed myself in you, John. I noticed the capacity for greatness, for redemption. And so I took a threat. I depended on you with my existence, and in return, you relied on me with yours. And collectively, we cast a bond that neither time nor distance could ever ruin." They fell silent for a moment, misplaced in their thoughts, every remembering the long and hard avenue that had added them to this place. And then, almost as though they'd rehearsed it 1,000 times, they grew to become to face every other, their elderly functions etched with willpower. "It is time," the overall stated, his voice regular and real. The years of planning, of cautious research and development, had all brought about this second. They had created something truly exceptional, something that might make certain the future they'd fought so tough to protect. As they stood there, aspect by means of side, they might experience the weight of obligation settling closely upon their shoulders. But in addition, they felt a sense of satisfaction, of accomplishment, that surpassed anything they had ever recognized. The synthetic intelligence, which that they had codenamed G-Arbiter, became housed inside a large, gleaming computer array. Its sleek, curved traces seemed to defy gravity, as though it were a dwelling, respiration creature in its personal right. As they approached the managed console, the General and John exchanged one final glance, a look that spoke volumes about the trust they'd constructed, the bond that had fashioned between them over time. The trendy positioned his hand on the panel, his fingers tracing the styles etched into the cool steel. "Are you ready, John?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. John nodded, swallowing hard as he fought to keep his composure. "I am, sir. Let's try this." With a deep breath, the General keyed in the activation code, and the Arbiter AI sprang to life. A holographic show flickered into lifestyles above the console, presenting them with a sequence of diagnostics and standing reports. The fashionable scanned the facts speedy, his brow furrowing as he stated a minor technical glitch. He said, it appears we've some work to do, but... John chuckled, his voice tinged with alleviation. Well, we've usually recognized this would not be smooth, General. But with our combined enjoy, I'm confident we will make this paintings. The Standard turned to face John, his eyes packed with an aggregate of determination and hope. Indeed, my old friend. Together, we can make sure that the peace we fought so difficult for endures for generations to come. And in doing so, we can have left our mark on the galaxy, a mark so that it will never be forgotten. As the very last words of the overall echoed via the chamber, John may want to sense a surge of emotion welling up inside him. It turned into a combination of pride, excitement, and a deep feel of responsibility. They had come thus far, endured a lot, and now they have been on the cusp of something actually outstanding. The Arbiter AI turned into greater than just a machine. It was their legacy, their danger to make sure that the destiny they'd fought for might bear for generations to return. The holographic show flickered to lifestyles above the console, its complex array of records and status reports hinting at the exquisite capacity of the Arbiter AI. The Preferred and John pored over the information, their aged hands shifting nimbly across the control panel as they labored together to exceptional music the AI's talents. It was a dance of sorts, a ballet of understanding and enjoy that were honed over a lifetime of service.